Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, guys. Today we have another great video on micro interaction. We'll be looking at a button on a product listing page. Without further ado, let's get straight into Figma. So I have this product listing page where we list a product, which is the shoe. So and it has a button which says add to cart. So what I'm going to be looking at is, again, what we're going to be learning today is if someone taps on this button add to cart, we change it to a loading state and to finally a success state, right? So again, I'm not going through the product or we're not talking about the product here, but then it's more of the tutorial or the session today is like purely focused on how do we build this button, different states of the button. So I've already created this in here, and it has again three different states, right? We have an add to cart, and we have a loading state, and we have a success state. And we'll be using a button as a component in here, and then which is going to be connected to two variants. One is a loader, and then another is a check mark. So again, you're going to be learning all this from the start itself. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. I've just created a brand new Figma file and named it as button micro interaction. So we're going to create first of all, we're going to create by tapping on A on your keyboard. You're going to get the artboards. So first of all, we're going to be creating an artboard for iPhone 13 mini 375 by 812. I think that's the potentially a standard if you're using mobile devices as a prototype. And I would like to keep it maybe 121212 for the background, and we can create a button. So I'm just going to draw a button. Rather drawing a button, I'm just going to create say go to use a text and then write let's say add to cart, and after doing this, I'm gonna potentially keep it 18. I'm gonna give it SF Pro display, semi bold is fine, add to cart. And so this is our button, right? And we also need an icon. So what I'm going to create is I'm just going to create a icon frame. So I'm going to create a frame which is 24 by 24 in size. Something is wrong with my keyboard today. 24 by 24 in size, and we're going to draw a simple rectangle here of 16 by 16. Center line it, and we're going to use this as the it's icon. It's an icon template. Okay, we'll change it later. We're going to create a symbol out of this and put one here. Actually, I'm just going to change the color from black to white so that it's visible on this side. Okay, that looks good. So the next thing is I'm going to select both of them, Shift A. It's just gonna create an auto layout, and I'm gonna say the spacing should be 16, and I'm also gonna create some padding around it. Let's say I'm gonna create an 8 padding. So padding from top and left is 8. So let's also give it a background color. So let's say if you're giving white as background color, I'll probably change the inner elements to again black. Same, I'm gonna also do it for here. I'm gonna switch it back to again black. Okay, so I'm gonna also give it maybe 2 pixel, keep it center, and then keep it 2. So this is just a template, right? So I can then start later on start changing. And right now it's 40. Maybe I want it to be 48. And for the width, I would say the total width of the device is 375. Minus, we'll have 24 margin from left and right, so we'll keep maybe minus 48, and we should align it center. And when you tap on this auto layout, we also have the option to go inside this and then keep everything vertically and horizontally center. I'm going to do that as well. We'll also add a 16 round corner. Maybe that's too much. I'm going to keep 12. Sounds good. So this is our initial state of the button, right? So what we're going to do is again create a component out of this, and then we call it button. Okay, I'm gonna now put the button in here. I'm also gonna keep the icon we have created as well. And first of all, okay, so we have the initial state for the add to cart, right? And what we now have to do is, so on the initial state we don't have an icon, so I'm just going to hide that icon. So the remaining gets centered automatically, which is good. So we can keep it slightly above, let's say 56 from bottom, because we can also have the home bar. And once that is done, on the next state we have add to cart, but then it's going to be in a loading state, but at this point we don't need the text, I guess, so we'll just hide that as well. The first thing we're going to be doing is how do we build this loader, right? Simple loader. How do we build that loader? We're going to duplicate this, remove, detach this instance, and go inside this. So what we are right now trying to create is a loader, right? So the loader has to go from, let's say, it has to complete a full rotation, and it has to repeat as long as it takes, as long as the state is active. So we want, so in that case, like in the prototype, we want the loader component to be repeating itself on a loop. So in order to create that, first of all, we need to come up with the loader icon. So I think it's very simple. You just have to go into enter into this experience, maybe add a another point, and then just select that point, delete that point. So I think by default now we have a simple yeah, we have a loader. I would prefer it to be a bit more rounded. So yeah, I think that's good. That's good for the loader. Now what we have to do is we want it to, you know, rotating. We want it to be rotating like this, but then we want it to be an infinite rotation. I think we'll create 3 states, and then we're going to loop in between. So we'll create a state for 180. So tap on the icon. First of all, I'm going to create a component out of this and call the component as loader. And I'm going to add a variant. So, and then go to the variants, main variant, and then create the property as, let's say, state, and then first default state is state 1, and then another state we are doing is state 2, and then I need one more, which I'll say state 3. Okay, I'm just going to 3. So we have 3 states. So what we're going to be doing is each one we'll rotate 120. So 0, 120, then it's going to become again one more. So we want to rotate this way. So I think it's going on the minus end. So I think I'll do minus 120. Okay, and this one I'll do I'm just gonna keep it minus 120, then add, then again minus another 120. So I think it's minus 240, but then again it goes to plus. That's fine. So we have 3 states, and so we have to what we have to do is, like, from here we'll tap on prototype and then say so we have the prototyping link. So we're going to connect to the second one and then say, so right now it's set to on tap by default, but then instead of that we want it to be after a delay, and then we say the delay is, so right now it's like 800 ms, we want to say no delay, right? We want 0. We want to happen immediately from this state to go to the next state, and the next state to the state after. So from state 1 to state 2, state 2 to state 3, state 3 to back to state 1. So we want it to be happening automatically without our intervention. So what I'm going to do is, after a delay which is like 1 ms, it's going to switch to state 2, and then the animation should be smart animate. And right now it's set to ease out by default, or ease in and out, like in whatever in your case, but I'm going to keep it to linear because I don't want it to be, you know, moving, like, then otherwise it'll have some sort of issues with animations. So I'm going to keep it linear motion. 300 ms is fine, or maybe 200 ms. I'm going to keep it 200 ms. 200 ms is fine. And then I'm going to connect this state 2 with state 3, right? And then instead of on tap, and then it's going to change it to after a delay, and then say 0. So 1 by default they change to 1. Smart animate linear, which is fine as well. From here again I'm going to do that here. Smart animate linear, sort of on tap after a delay. Again 1 ms, which is fine. So we have everything properly connected. Now we want to check this in here, right? So we want to check, we want to change this element. So what we do is we have the loader. We're gonna drag that loader from the assets. We're gonna drag that loader and then while we are holding command option, it's gonna let us drop it in here. So it's gonna replace in here. So now we have this state. Okay, so we're gonna try and so we'll try and preview the state. So what I'm going to do is go to prototype and then tap on this and then say create a flow starting point, so I can directly access this specific screen. Tap play and we'll check whether the rotation is happening in a loop forever. That looks good, right? So we can let the user while they're continuing something, they can again still have the feedback as to something's happening. And depending on your server time, right? So depending, this could take 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, or half a second. We don't know. So, but again, when it comes to design, we know. But then again, we would like to keep this component as loading forever, so that like if you're using in a different states, different scenarios, you can use the same loader, and then you can, as long as they stay on the screen, they'll see this loader forever. So what we're going to be doing next is, now we have the loader, which is perfectly all right. Now we need another state, right? So the next state is, I'm gonna, again, this is good, I'm gonna remove the flow starting point, create a duplicate of this, and then we need the next state to be a check mark, and then at this state our button, right? We're gonna tap on the button, change the fill color to, let's say, a nice green. Let's say, I think this is fine. Okay, we'll keep this green, right? To kind of mark it as check mark, right? So it goes to success. So we need to create one more state. So again, I'm gonna duplicate this icon, detach, like we did last time. Go to I'm gonna create a component out of that, and then call that component check. I'm gonna right click, and then it gives me access to all these options. Along with that, I have these plugins. Right now I've installed material design icons plugin. You can access more plugins from Figma library to access your if you don't have this yet, you can install it, but I think again, you don't really necessarily need to have it. So right now I'm creating a check mark. So just as a reference, I want to see how does this look, right? So I'm just going to tap on that, 24 by 24. It creates a check mark for me. Let me give me a second to check. So I'm gonna keep it here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna copy this check mark, command X, not copy, cut that from there, and then I'm gonna paste it inside our check mark, and then remove the circle we have. And how I'm going to be doing this right now, there's a shape, right? So on Figma, whenever you change shape, again, if you adjust its width and height, it'll animate. But if you do anything with the pen tool and then change it, it's not going to do any smart animation. So we need to simplify it a little bit more. So what I'm going to be using is, I'm going to rebuild the check using rectangles. So I'm going to use a rectangle, right? So or you can also tab R on your keyboard. I'm going to create a rectangle. Say I'm going to create a rectangle, and then height should be 2, and then I'm going to keep it here, and then I'm going to duplicate this rectangle again, and then I'm going to keep, let's say, minus 45. So I think it should be okay. And then this one, I'm gonna increase the size and then say 45 rotation. I think that's very close to what the one we have in here. Maybe I need to increase 1 pixel on both end. So what I'm gonna command Z, not necessarily command Z, wait. I'm gonna increase width by 1, same for this as well. And I'm gonna X move slightly on the left, so I want to keep it, so again this as well, I'm gonna keep it 7, so it moves here. One more, it's not perfect, let's say now we need to tweak it because it's not a fraction. I'm going to try and move it as let's say I'm going to do 7.5, 7.6. Okay, that aligns perfectly, right? And yeah, this is pretty good. Looks pretty good. So once that is done, I'm going to remove the vector we've earlier pasted into this layer, delete that, and then change this color to black. So again, I'm just going to create a group out of this so that we don't have any other movements happening within it. So I'm just going to create center, align from left and right, from left and top. I think that's pretty good. The next step is to create a variant, which is we have the state. So for the check mark, there is only two states. So we need a beginning, right? The initial state of the check mark and the finished state. So on the initial state, essentially I want it to happen like this, right? I want it to be going this way. So what I'm gonna do is, first of all, we're gonna remove the width I set to 2, and same in here as well, width I'll set to 2, and this one I'm gonna remove the opacity, and it's okay to keep the first frame as this one, because again, as soon as after the loading, as soon as the screen appears, it's gonna start from here, right? So it's by default it'll have that, and then it's just gonna start and then draw this really quick. So I think the initial state, this is fine, and then the end state is this. So what I'm going to do is go to check, and then instead of calling it property, I'm going to call it state. I'm going to say state 1, then this is state 2. That's pretty good. And from prototype, I'm going to connect the first one to the second one, and then I'm going to call it again, I'm going to on tap, instead of on tap, I'm going to change it to after a delay. Let's say we want it to be happening immediately, right? Immediately after screen loading, we want this to happen. This check need to happen. So let's say 0 delay. Smart Animate is fine. We need, let's say 400 ms. I want to be really nice, and maybe not 400, maybe 300, but we'll check it later. And instead of linear, I'm gonna keep ease in and out back. So it has a, if you look at this curve, it has a nice bouncy motion to it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna increase this bouncy motion. You can again, if you're learning, try explore all these ones, right? Whatever you have in here, and then see how the animation is responding to that. Plus adjust these curves and then see what's happening, so you can easily make a relation. So right now, if I do like this, I think it should give a really nice bouncy motion. Okay, I think I'm happy with this. As soon as the person reaches the screen with the state, it's gonna almost instantly move to the state. So what I'm gonna do is, so now since we have this component, I'm going to assets, and like we did last time, drag and drop it to this while holding Command and Option on Mac. So you paste it here, and that's been pasted, right? Now I'm going to again create a flow starting point here for us to check this out. I'm going to tap play, let Figma do the magic and loads it. So I'm going to refresh this page, refresh again. Yeah, it's happening, right? The check is happening. Refreshing again, refreshing again, refreshing again. That's pretty good. So now we have the loading state is fine. Again, I'm gonna remove the flow starting point now. So we have 3 states, 3 different screens. I think it's pretty good so far. We can also create a variant of these buttons and then combine and then keep in just one, but I think like most likely would be good to have it in a screen. So especially if you're writing out specs for your developers, they can easily see different states. So and then again, you might have some changes on the screen itself, so it's better to keep it this way. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to connect, right? So I'm going to say when you tap to add to cart, so I'm on prototype mode, If you tap on add to cart, it should move to the next screen. So I'm going to connect to the next screen and then say on tap should navigate to iPhone 13 mini 2. Smart animate, instead of custom, I'm going to say ease in and out. I'm going to keep 350 ms, not 3500, 350. That's fine. And once that is done, it should reach here. Now it's loading. After load is done, I'm going to connect it to this screen, okay, where we show the check mark. So what I'm going to do is, like, instead of on tap, I'm going to say after delay. So once this person reaches here, with a little bit of delay, we'll move to the next one. So how much delay? Right now it's by default 800 ms. I'm going to say, let's say 1200. So 1.2 seconds. It's not 1.2 seconds. And smart animate, ease in and out, which is fine. I think that's pretty good. And I'm going to start the flow again. Yeah, so we have the add to cart button here. Tapping on this, go to a loading state, and then shows the check mark. So once you understand how different, how you can combine a button with the variant, and then how you can create different states and prototype it, right? So it gives you ability to do pretty much any sort of animations in Figma. Not any sort of animation. I think most of the things you can actually achieve in Figma really quick, right? Pretty good, right? So if you have reached this far, that means you really understand how to create different component and variants, combine them, and then create different states to create an amazing micro interaction. This is, I would say, reasonably complex, not super complex, but then reasonably complex. If you understand this already, that means you are at a level in complexity where you can potentially start creating your own set of micro interactions, start planning how you can animate certain things, timed animations, right? It gives you opportunity to think really deep into other areas, and then potentially how to use this along with other parts in your design system if you're already working for a product. This could have a wide variety of use cases, and I'm really excited to see what you're coming up with. And please do share your thoughts, and then if you have any troubles, as always, please reach out to me in my comments, and I could always help you. Thank you so much for watching this lessons. I hope you find this useful. If you do, again, leave comments below, and if you like as well, that'll be helpful. So thanks for watching again, and see you next time. Bye bye.